So I bet you clicked on this video after being introduced to MX bikes, probably by one of these 3 legends or maybe some of your friends. And you're wondering, is MX bikes even good, or should I spend my hard-earned money on it? Well, the answer to that question is yes. Well, kind of. I don't know. Let me explain, because it's a little bit more complicated than just yes. You know what I mean? Before we jump into the pros and cons, let me just say hello. If you're new here, my name's ReaperDog, and I have about 2,000 hours in MX bikes. Because I spent 3 of the last 12 months playing MX bikes, which is insane to say, I have a pretty good understanding of what's wrong with the game, but also a pretty good understanding of why I kept coming back over and over and over and over again. Let's start with the issues. And there are 2 main issues I see, and I'll break these down into little categories to help organize things. Being new. Being new in MX bikes is hard. The base game of MX bikes definitely lacks content. With only like 16 tracks and a bunch of those tracks being variations of the same track, there really isn't much content for you. Even though a handful of those tracks are actually certified bangers, they will absolutely get stale after some time. The bikes Pitboaso gives you aren't great, and so there's nothing really special. They sound awful. They look okay, and they just don't make the game feel like you want it to. So when you first download the game, it's just gonna feel stale. It just seems like to be lacking content. It doesn't have the depth of what you see from the content creators or the videos that you see. It could feel really overwhelming needing to download the OEM bikes, tracks, boots, helmets, gear, gloves, tires, Big Smoke, this random anime chick. There's just so much to get the game to where you want it to be or where you've seen. It just can be overwhelming. And with that said, this game 100% relies on mods to fill that huge void of content. So if you struggle downloading mods or you don't have enough space, the game can certainly lack in that area. Being new is also really hard, well, because this game has a huge learning curve. Maybe not as bad as like MX Sim, but it's still huge if you're coming from a traditional motocross game like Supercross or MX vs ATV. This means you will be tipping over every corner and totally lost on how to even ride for like 30 to 50 hours. Trust me, that's what it took me. It took me like 50 hours before I could make it a lap around one of the easiest tracks in the game. I will also tell people, if you aren't willing to spend the time to get good enough to make it around the track, the game's probably not worth it, because you're not going to have any fun. Really, where you get that fun is when you finally figure out how to ride and flow, and you can kind of go fast, and then the game unlocks for you. The second major issue I see with the game is physics. The physics in this game can be a bit goofy at times. Whether it's the Pitboaso bounce when you overshoot a landing, which has been improved with Beta 18, the slow physics, which have also been improved with Beta 18, or the uphill physics, which have been improved, but all of those things are still there, but they have definitely been improved with Beta 18. Or the fact that, like, to go fast, you basically have to lean back 24/7 around the track. Like, if you aren't leaning back, you're losing time. Trust me, that's a little tip for you guys. The physics, especially some of the slow physics, can really deter newer players from having an enjoyable experience. Now, I do believe Beta 18 has made huge improvements in this, and I think they're going to continue to get better, but there's still a little bit of an issue, and I think that people that are new kind of get turned off by that. They're used to, MX vs ATV, where they can get on and just instantly pick it up and ride, and that's just not what this game is. Some other miscellaneous issues are, like, a big one is like netcode. Like, this is pretty much just for online racing. And if you guys are newer, you probably won't jump into that too much. It probably won't impact you. But the netcode in this game isn't great, and it can be super annoying when you're right next to somebody and all of a sudden they're just like in your bike and they take you out. Bike mismatches are another really frustrating thing. Basically what that is if I have a certain bike, say the 2022 YZ250, and you try to join my server, but you don't have that bike, you will get bike mismatch, and you won't be able to join my server. This is especially frustrating because if there's an update on the bikes or anything, you have to have that update as well as I have to have that update, otherwise we can't join each other's servers. And you just have to be diligent about staying on top of updates and like the latest bikes and stuff. And if you're more of a casual player that just wants to jump on every once in a while, you will probably find like you get bike mismatch a lot, and that can be frustrating. That's probably the #1 question I get is, how do I fix bike mismatch? Okay. I know I just kind of ripped the game for a bit, and you're wondering like, how can I recommend this game and let alone have 2,000 hours in it? Well, let's move on to the things that make this game extremely special. Let's start with physics. I know. I just said physics can be buns sometimes, but guys, even with the previously mentioned issues, this game is hands down the most realistic motocross game I have ever played. I know you sim players are like punching the air right now and like, no, sim is the best. But and trust me, Sim is good, and it does outshine bikes in the physics department in some ways. But for me, what I really like is the first-person feel in MX bikes. To me, you can like feel the little bumps, like the little chop, the huge braking bumps. It just feels more realistic, in my opinion. The whips are really good, the scrubs are really good. There's enough rider control where the skill gap in this game is actually insanely big. You will put down a heater and you'll be like, man, I'm the GOAT, and someone will come by and just put like 5 seconds on you, and figuring out how to do that is, to me, what makes something like this game special. Once you figure out the little quirks of like how the game works, it just feels so good. It feels right, if that makes sense. Like the bike reacts how you would expect it to in braking bumps, at least most of the time. There is nothing like railing a rut in this game or throwing a huge oppo. It's so satisfying, and it's just so good. Like I mentioned before, this game is super dependent on mods, and I know I kind of said that was a bad thing, but it is a huge W for me. This is everything. This game has everything from the latest year of OEM bikes, the Yamaha, Honda, Kawasaki, KTM, all that stuff, to like almost every track you could possibly think of. And I'm not just talking national tracks. I'm talking Supercross, Arena Cross, Pro Motocross, MXGP, flat tracks, freeride, endurocross. It's got everything. And what seems like, on top of that, it seems like it has an infinite amount of like local or no-namer tracks, or even purely original creation. It just has it all. It seems like it has every track except for E Street. Why has no one made E Street from California? I don't know. Not to mention the insanely detailed, realistic looking gear you can download. And the best part is that like 99 to 95% of these mods are all free, with only a small amount of the premier content being paid. Now, I do suggest, if you guys are watching this, please donate to your creators. Not me, the track creators, those guys, they make this game what it is. The racing in this game is incredible. Unfortunately, I can't race motocross in real life anymore. After smacking my head too many times, it's just not there. The brain doesn't function like it used to. But racing in this game is one of the major things that drove me to just grinding so much. I was looking to fill that void in motocross in my life after hitting my head, and let me tell you, lining up on an aerial pro gate got me more nervous than actually lining up on a gate in real life. Whether you're racing a beginner Steam VR lobby or a pro aerial supercross race, the racing in this game is really something special. It can be a bit crazy and frustrating at times, with some of the goofy physics that make you crash here and there, but there is nothing like racing in this game. It feels so dynamic, so realistic in a sense. The tracks break down, the deform's amazing on some tracks, and it can just make you, it just gives you that feeling of racing without actually racing. At least I think the best of ability that a motocross game could. Overall, guys, MX Bikes certainly has a lot of issues, and it takes a long time to get used to the physics and to get everything downloaded and set up. But man, if you invest the time in this game, I promise you will enjoy every second of it. If you have any interest in motocross and a little patience, I would encourage you to pick the game up. If this video helped you out at all, please hit that subscribe button, and if you just decided to get the game, check out this playlist with all my OEM bike setups to help you get going a bit faster right out of the gate.